Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about frequently asked questions. Questions I get from smart drivers on a regular basis and giving the answer to those so you can be successful on passing your road test first time. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about frequently asked questions, and we had a bit of technical difficulty there. Didn't push the button to start streaming, and we're back and we're streaming now. So Hall Phase is here, Tim is here, and there'll be other people here as well, unless we have problems with the browser again as we did last week, and I might have to reset it before we get going here. So I got going a little bit late here. I do apologize about that, but we're here. And just bear with me 1 second here. I'm just going to kick the, what am I going to do here? I'm going to kick up advanced. There we go. I'm going to kick up the contrast just a little bit and the light just a little bit. There we go. All right, we'll see if that helps for us. So frequently asked questions. So some of the frequently asked questions I get are about the maneuvers, about signaling, about speed management, space management, those types of things, where you need to be to set up left-hand turns and those types of things. So we're going to answer those questions. And Corey is here. And Bricks for Wheels, that's Corey. Corey is the moderator here and helps to make the live streams go much more smoothly. And does a great job. And as well, videos that I recommend on the channel that get up for you that will give you more information about preparing and being ready for your road test. Corey gets those available for you, so that's really great. June is here from Michigan. Adco is here as well, and if you're just tuning in or you're tuning in on the replay, let us know where you're tuning in from and let us know what class of license that you're going for. Notifications went out. So when you say notifications, Hall Phase, are you talking about notifications or the comments or something is not working here? Just let me know. Jonathan is here. Hello, Jonathan is here from New York City, and New York City has a few different things that you need to be aware of in terms of a license. New York City and the 5 boroughs, so Manhattan, Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx, you cannot turn right on a red light in those boroughs. So know that for the purposes of preparing for your road test there in the city of New York. Okay. Suchitra is here. How to improve judgment in traffic. So Suchitra, what is it when you say judgment in traffic? What is it you're looking for? Is it observation, scanning, speed management, those types of things? Just let me know that and I can answer that question for you. So Katie Swan is here from Arkansas. Tracy's here from Halifax. Sam TV, hello. And tuning in from Ottawa, the federal capital here in Canada. And I think I did mention June here as well. So yes, so that's what's going on this week. What else? Yes, as I mentioned, I am working on stories here on YouTube. I'm also going to start to pursue Instagram. So if anybody has any tips on starting an Instagram account, I would certainly be open to that as well, because I want to get going on the Instagram stuff. And I've been asking for a lot of feedback lately on how to improve the channel, how to sort of move forward. One of the things that I find is doing well is the short 20-second video clips that are a very boiled down version of the longer instructional videos, and then simply all I do is put a link to the longer video, and I find these are working really well for smart drivers to lead them into the bigger videos and get more details about things that they may or may not know to get that information and help them be successful on a road test. Tracy, how do you always remember to shoulder check? I forget sometimes. Yes, Tracy, it's just a matter of practice and saying, you know, half a block before where I'm going to turn, and then again, and anytime you move the vehicle laterally. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well and help you prepare for that. Katie, what is the best way to study the driving manual? Katie, the best way to study the driving manual is not to study the driving manual, oddly enough. Go on the practice driving test questions here on the internet. Just type in practice driving test questions. There are some car ones on the Richmond Public Library site, and do those tests. And don't use the tests as a test of your ability, but rather use them as a measure or to to identify the gaps in your knowledge. And then once you figure out what those gaps in your knowledge are, go back to the driving manual, look up those specific pieces, and then go back and do the questions again. When you're getting 80 to 90% consistently on those test questions, you should be ready to go and do and write your learner's test at the authority where you're going to be taking your test. All right. Pal, do you always turn to the left when the left is where you need to turn? Pal, not sure what you're asking me. You'll have to rephrase it. Excuse me. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get over here to the PowerPoint presentation, get that done, and then we can answer questions and go back to the question period after that. So that's what we're going to do here. Transition over to that. Frequently asked questions. We're going to answer questions that I get from smart drivers all the time, and this will help everyone out. And to get over here, there we go. All right, so if you're new to the channel, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver through most of the 1990s, and I was talking to a friend of mine about stories about driving bus and truck this morning, which was interesting, especially in Australia. 1997, I became a licensed commercial driving instructor. I have an expertise in air brakes, and most of what I taught was commercial driving, but I also did driver rehabilitation training, which was helping people to return to driving after they had sustained an injury or a debilitating, they had a stroke or a heart attack, or they'd lost a limb or something like that. So I taught people how to drive with hand controls. I graduated from the University of Melbourne with a doctorate in legal history in 2006, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons. And my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic, oddly enough. And while I was going to university, I drove for Greyhound in Australia and one of the regional bus lines there called V-Line. So that's who I am. So the first question I get is, my turns are too wide, or I have difficulty judging where my vehicle is in a parking lot, or those types of things. And when students say to me that your turns are too wide, what you need to do is you need to go back to the parking lot and you need to work with those 36-inch tall, 1 meter tall delineators, those pylons that you can see here in the image. And you need to do these slow speed maneuver exercises, because these slow speed maneuver exercises will teach you where your vehicle is in space and place, and they will teach you mastery of the primary controls: the steering wheel, the clutch, the brake, and the throttle. And for those of you driving automatics, the clutch will not factor into that. But these are the fundamental skills that you need to learn to be able to do all of this other stuff, to do your turns correctly, to do lane changes correctly, to drive in a parking lot correctly. You must be able to know, you must know where your vehicle is in space and place, and you must have mastery of the primary controls. And the way that you learn that is working with these pylons, doing these slow speed maneuver exercises, and doing your slow speed maneuvers such as parallel parking, reverse stall parking, and 3-point turns. So this is all going to help you out in terms of your overall driving, and it's going to make you a better driver overall. So don't discount this. Spend the time on this. It's like scales are to music. It's like drills are to sports. If you don't do these basic fundamental exercises, you're not going to improve overall. So make sure you do these slow speed maneuvers. The next question I get is, do I have to do hand over hand, or do I have to do hand to hand? Hand-to-hand steering is beginning to lose favor. Most places in the world now are doing hand-over-hand steering for the steering wheel. And if you're unsure about that, simply ask a local driving school or go down to the authority where you're going to be taking your test and ask them whether they do hand-to-hand or whether they do hand-over-hand. Few places, as I said, do hand-to-hand. The other thing you can do is after you finish the turn, you can simply open your fingers, keep your palms in contact with the steering wheel, let the steering wheel slide back through your hands. And again, there are a few places in the world that still insist that you have to manipulate the steering wheel back, but that's completely ridiculous in this day and age of power steering on vehicles. We've had power steering for 40 years on vehicles now. And you just simply open your fingers, keep your palms in contact with the steering wheel, let it slide back through your hands. And again, Corey, I'll put the video up for you on steering wheel control. That will give you more information about how to do this. But that's steering wheel control. And again, this is one of the primary controls of the vehicle. And if you go back to the exercises for slow speed maneuvers and learning to drive, all of this will, you'll learn all of this if you do those exercises. Okay, one of the other questions I get is about freeway merging onto highways and those types of things. And students ask me again and again, how do I merge in bumper to bumper traffic? And I have yet to do this video I don't live in a large city, so I don't get out to Vancouver or to Toronto or places like that very often. So I haven't had an opportunity to do this video yet, but I will get this video done. And it's a matter of you simply coming out onto the on-ramp, the acceleration lane, and matching the speed of the flow of traffic on the highway. And if you do that, and if you signal early and you hold your course, eventually some driver on the highway is going to let you in. They're going to create a space into which you can move on the highway. If you have to signal though, you have to communicate. And lots of times with new drivers, when I've been working with them in the past, they say to me, oh, that driver won't let me move over. And I'm like, well, if you turn your signal on and actually ask them, there's a good chance that they're gonna make a space for you to move into. If other drivers don't know that you want to move over via your signal, then they're not gonna help you out. But if you do signal early and you match the speed and you're not holding them up, oftentimes they will make that space so that you can move over. Okay. Another question for road tests, and this goes for both passenger vehicles and CDL drivers, is what is the tolerance for speed? One of the major components on a road test is speed management. You must drive the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. There are conditions along roadways that will allow you to drive at a lower speed. For example, if you're in a congested area where there's lots of pedestrian traffic around and it's busy and those types of things, you can drive a bit slower. But for the most part, students will say to me, oh, can I drive 5 miles an hour over? No, you cannot drive 5 miles an hour for any length of time, because if you do, you will not be successful on your road test. Speed management, you can go 5 miles an hour, but you better only be doing it for 5 or 8 seconds, and then you're scanning your control panel and you see, oh my god, I'm over, and you get that back almost immediately back to the posted speed limit, especially if you're going downhill or you get caught out following traffic or whatnot. You need to do the posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less, for the purposes of a road test. And this is one of the things that goes against social driving, because traffic is moving along at the flow of traffic, which is going to be higher than the speed limit. So know that. So it's imperative that you practice driving the speed limit for the purposes of passing your road test. And again, it's about speed management. You can go over, you can be a little bit under, but you need to be almost on the posted speed limit most of the time. And again, when you turn out onto a major street or you make any turn, you need to get the vehicle up to the posted speed limit as quickly as possible. Okay, left-hand turns. There's two schools of thinking on left-hand turns. One is that when you're making your left-hand turn, so we'll take the black arrow here in the image, you stop the car here and you move out into the intersection as far as possible. That is not what I advocate. What I advocate is you put the front steer tires of the vehicle on the front crosswalk line, and I still do this to this day. And the reason for that is that with the front steer tires on the front crosswalk line here, you're committed to the intersection, but you're not in the intersection. If something goes wrong here, you're not in this intersection. You're not going to be involved in the crash. Now, the other piece of this is that you're waiting here with the front tires on the front crosswalk line. You're waiting for this traffic on the other side to stop. Now you see the gap coming, so behind this yellow car, for example, and this red car, there's a gap as they're moving through. As you see that gap, you're anticipating that gap and you move forward to meet that gap in the intersection. That's when you move forward. And this is more prevalent and becomes more important as you drive bigger and bigger vehicles, because you need to get that speed up so you can make this left-hand turn quickly. Now, these arrows here, I can tell you in this image, are completely wrong, because the left car, or the black car and the red car are not going to go at the same time. The red car is going to go first, and then the black left turning car is going to turn left, but in behind this red car, so that you're not creating conflict with the other vehicle in case this red car doesn't stay in the right hand lane. So that's how you turn for the left hand turning position. You want to stop with the front tires on the front crosswalk line, as I said. That way you're committed to the intersection, to the turn, but you're not in the intersection. Okay, shoulder checking. When do I shoulder check? And I believe it was Tracy here just said that she was having difficulty and wasn't remembering all the time. And again, it just comes back to practice. Every time you move the vehicle sideways, anytime that you make a turn, you have to shoulder check minimum 2 times. Once a half a block before the turn and once immediately before the turn. And I just had a smart driver like an hour and a half ago ask me, why are they shoulder checking approximately half a block before the turn? You're shoulder checking because there may be a cyclist, there may be a scooter there, and when you get up to the intersection, they're coming up behind you and they're going to be sitting behind you. Therefore, you can be proactive, and you know that cyclist is there, and if you're making a right-hand turn, for example, you know that that cyclist is going to come up and is going to be sitting beside you. Therefore, you know that you're going to wait and let that cyclist go before you execute your right-hand turn, or when the cyclist comes up, you're going to get eye contact with that cyclist and then you're going to go. So you're simply scanning in preparation to be proactive for the turn or proceeding straight through the intersection. And for different places in the United States, how you handle bicycle lanes is going to be different. So again, the reason that you're shoulder checking approximately half a block before the turn is so that you can be proactive in your maneuvers and communicating with other road users on the roadway. So when do you shoulder check? Approximately half a block before the turn, and then immediately before the turn. And again, shoulder checking during lane changes. You're going to shoulder check immediately before the lane change, mirror signal shoulder check. 3 flashes on the signal, you're going to shoulder check again immediately before moving over, and then you're going to start to move over, and you might even do another one. And if you're sitting at the intersection for a long time, for a period of time before you make your turn, you again might shoulder check immediately before making your turn. So that's when you shoulder check. And this is a critical skill on a road test. If you don't shoulder check for the purposes of your road test, I can't count how many students have come back to me and said they weren't successful on the road test because they didn't shoulder check. So make sure that you shoulder check for the purposes of your road test. Move to the right lane immediately after making a left-hand turn. This is for those of us in North America who drive on the right side of the road. Obviously, it's going to be opposite for those of you driving on the left side of the road in the world. But the examiner's not going to tell you. So as soon as you make the left-hand turn and the vehicle straightens out in that left inside lane, mirror signal shoulder check and execute all of the maneuvers correctly to make your lane change over to the right lane. The only time you don't make the lane change to the right is if the examiner says, listen, in 2 blocks, make another left-hand turn. Then you can stay in that left-hand lane. But you need to travel in the right-hand lane. It's the slow lane, and because you're doing the posted speed limit on your road test, you're going to be driving slower than the flow of traffic, so make sure you move over to that right-hand lane immediately. And this is, again, a frequently asked question that I get all the time for the purposes of passing a road test. Can I use a backup camera? The only place that you can use a backup camera that I know of is the state of New Jersey. Otherwise, you cannot use a backup camera for the purposes of a road test. And even if you do have a backup camera, yes, you can use it kind of intermittently to help you to back up. Have a glance at it, but use your wing mirrors and be sure that you're looking out the back window. And again, Corey will put that video up for you on the correct procedures for reversing. And yes, you have to look out through the back window. Put your hand on the back of the passenger seat and look out through the back window. It's almost impossible for you to have 2 hands in the steering wheel, and I have had students tell me that their instructors or other people have told them that they need to keep 2 hands on the steering wheel when reversing. That's not true. You can reverse with 1 hand because you can't be looking out the back window. It's physically impossible to, it's not physically impossible, but it's pretty tough to keep both hands on the steering wheel while you're trying to look out the back window and reverse the vehicle. So know that as well for reversing. Another question I get often is, do I have to signal for 3-point turns? Because in the video that I put up about how to do 3-point turns and how to back up, I get students to signal every time they change directions. And the reason for that is because you're moving the vehicle sideways. Anytime that you move the vehicle sideways, anytime that you're going to turn, signal your intention and communicate effectively to other traffic. And this is what you're doing. And the reason you're doing this on the purposes of a road test is so you get in the habit of communicating your intentions to other road users. And there's 5 ways that we communicate our intentions to other road users: is lights and signals, our horn, hand gestures. Make sure you use all 5 fingers. Don't tell them they're number 1 on a road test. Eye contact. If you're not sure what a pedestrian is doing, for example, at the corner or they're at a crosswalk or whatnot, get eye contact with them, and then you can kind of figure out what each of you is doing. And then finally, the position of your vehicle on the roadway communicates your intention to other road users. Parallel parking, and this is the question, probably the number 1 frequently asked question, is Will I fail the road test if I hit the curb? Yes, if you strike the curb with the car and the body of the vehicle rocks over the chassis, or you knock the examiner out of her seat, yes, you are not going to be successful on your road test. If you do this where you drive up over the hood of the car behind you, yes, definitely not going to be successful on your road test. However, if you have enough awareness about your vehicle and you back up and you touch the curb and you're like, oh, I touched the curb, and so you move forward and you adjust the vehicle, then no, that is not a fail. But if you do strike the curb, yes, you will not be successful on your road test for parallel parking. So know that for the purposes of the road test. And one other caution, as I say in the parallel parking video, which Corey will put up here for you, most driving examiners will not get you to park between two vehicles. And unfortunately, I had a smart driver last week tell me that the examiner did in fact get them to park between two vehicles, and they weren't successful on their road test because they just, threw them for a loop. Make sure that when you're preparing for your road test that you're practicing parking between two vehicles. You're practicing parking between cones, because that will, then you're ready. If it does happen, in the odd chance that it does, most of the time, most examiners are not going to get you to park between two vehicles. They're going to get you to park behind one vehicle, or they're going to get you to do it in a parking lot or other closed circuit area where it's going to be easier for you to be able to do that and just focus on your parallel parking. The reason that they don't get you to parallel park between two vehicles is because for two new drivers, it's just too nerve-wracking. The test is already nerve-wracking enough, so they're not trying to add the pressure on. I mean, if a driving examiner gets you to do that, he or she is probably a novice, or they're just being an ogre and having a bad day. So that's what's going to happen in terms of parallel parking. All right, so good luck on your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. And we'll just slide back over here, so just bear with me for 1 sec. There we go, and we'll answer any questions that you have. Varun, making a left-hand turn at high-density intersections is sometimes a difficult maneuver. Yeah, for sure, Varun. Involving intense judgment as the cars behind honk and push the driver forward, committing a deadly move. Well, again, Varun, one of the things about the road test that I always tell students is don't get pressured by other drivers, especially if they're honking at you, especially on a left-hand turn. Do not be pushed by other drivers, okay? Tony, while driving in the mountains during high traffic times, do you think it's better to drive the posted speed limit or slower? Driving in the mountains. Tony, where are you driving in the mountains? Most of the time, I mean, here in British Columbia, when you drive in the mountains, you can drive the posted speed limit. It's not difficult to do that. Okay. Hassan, how can you overcome fear? There is a video here, fear and anxiety, reducing fear and anxiety when driving. Hassan, that will help you out, and Corey will put that up for you. And there are some tips and ideas that you can do that. One of the things you want to do is you want to have a little bit of exposure in a lot of increments over the course of the day. So say 5 or 6 minutes for a little bit in the beginning, sit in the vehicle, get comfortable with the vehicle, and then increase your exposure. Again, overcoming that fear, working in parking lots and closed circuit areas where you can just focus on your driving. You're not focused in working with other traffic and those types of things. And then after you get comfortable with that, then you want to go and work in low density traffic areas and residential areas and those types of places. So you want to start out on a really small incremental basis with exposure to the vehicle, and then you want to increase that, and as your skills build and you get more and more comfortable, you want to move that up. Okay, so that's essentially what you want to do in terms of overcoming the fear there. Abe, thank you so much for that compliment, and you're in Virginia. Love Virginia. There we go. Masako, hi sir, thank you for all your videos. I passed my driver's test. That is absolutely awesome, and if you could head over to the Smart Drive Test website and sign up for the 100K campaign, that would be really great as well. Okay, the Mad Trucker, if you have driving license, say from the UK, how long do you have until you have to sit a US driving test? Mad Trucker, that's going to depend. So let me clarify this. So if you have a driver's license from the UK and you move to the United States, you're not going to be able to get a job as a truck driver with your UK license. You're going to have to do the tests or any other requirements that are going to be put in place for you to get your CDL license in that state in the US. So know that that as soon as you immigrate, as soon as you're there, you're going to have to be able to get that, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to get a job and you're not going to be able to work in the United States. June, I have my state exam for CDL-A tomorrow and I feel prepared. Just need to remember to talk to the examiner during my road portion. Awesome, and good luck on that, June. You're going to do great. Sounds like you've done lots of work and you're well prepared, and that is really great. Okay, Katie, thank you for explaining about the driving manual. You're most welcome. All phase. Rick saved a lot of drivers from reading the full manual. Yes, I really don't want to subject you to reading the full manual. Believe me, I've read a lot of them, but I'm kind of an academic that way, that I can sort of move through them fairly quickly. And I've read most of them in the United States and most of them in Canada, Australia. They don't get any more interesting. Okay? Okay, Jonathan, the road examiner will see if you make any possible errors while you're performing your road test. Remember, it's your job to not give them the right to fail you. Exactly. Take away the examiner's right to fail you. Nothing more, nothing less. And it comes down to practicing. Okay, Nevada's 122-lane roads, around 55 miles an hour, a lot of twists and turns in that area. Most of the time, Tony, when you're driving in mountain areas and it's 55 miles an hour, I mean, 55 miles an hour is not unreasonable. I mean, here in the mountains of British Columbia, the speed limit is 120 kilometers an hour, which is is about 75 miles an hour. And, you know, you can easily do that. I mean, if you're on some of these 2-lane highways, especially if you're on an interstate, you can do that. But, you know, don't drive faster than what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable doing 55, then do 50 and make sure you just stay over in the right-hand lane. That way you're not going to be tying up traffic behind you. But again, it comes back to your own ability and your assessing your ability and not driving beyond your own comfort zone. And if you're simply not comfortable driving on those roads at the speed limit that you need to be driving on, I might suggest you go back and do a little bit more practice before you actually get out on those highways and those types of things, okay? Katie, is normal not to find the CDL in the driving manual? Okay, Katie, okay, I don't understand the question, Katie. Maybe you can just reword that for me, okay? Sam, thank you for all the great job you are doing. Keep it up. I was not successful for my G1 exit. She said it was overly cautious. I wasn't catching my speed quickly after a turn. Any tips, please? Yes. Okay, Sam. So I know what the examiner's saying to you is that when you're making your turn, you're not mashing down on it. You need to get down on that throttle and you need to get it up to speed as quickly as possible. So Sam, one of the things I would suggest to you is have a look at the speed control video here on the channel. Corey will put that up for you. So you just need to get it up to speed as quickly as possible. And probably what I might also suggest, Sam, is that you go to a local driving school there in Ontario and get them to help you and maybe identify some of the skills and techniques and maneuvers that maybe need a little bit of work. And then you can just work on those things. The other thing I might suggest, Sam, is maybe just go and get some of those 1 meter tall delineators and go back to the parking lot and work with those a little bit. And that will improve your overall driving and help you out. Okay? Ryan, can you use the 45 angle reverse parking maneuver on your road test? Having difficult time with the 90-degree angle way. Still having about 2 weeks to practice. Hope I can get it. Ryan... Okay, I think I know what you're saying, Ryan. You're talking about reverse parking on a 45-degree angle. You can do that, Ryan, to reverse stall park for the purposes of your road test. So know that you can do that, okay? At least I'm fairly certain. The other thing I might suggest, Ryan, is if you're having difficulty with that, is go to a local driving school and hire an instructor. Maybe they can just take you out and give you a little bit of work with that, sort of one-on-one, and that will definitely make sure that you're ready for your road test in a couple of weeks there. Hall face, what happens if a big rig don't have enough room to make a right turn without hitting cars on the left? Hall face, it's the responsibility of the CDL driver to be able to get the vehicle around. And one of the skills that's really difficult for CDL drivers, new CDL drivers, to hone is being able to come up to the intersection. As you're coming up to the intersection, you're assessing and analyzing how sharp that turn is, how big your trailer is, how big your truck is, and how far you have to get out to compensate for that off tracking on the back of the trailer. So it is the responsibility of the driver to be able to do that, and it's one of those things that's going to take 3 or 4 months of experience with the driver working in urban areas to be able to make those turns. And if the driver can't make that turn, they get jammed up in there. It's also their responsibility while they're making the turn that they're observing correctly. And again, it's like reversing. When you're reversing a car, reversing a trailer, or any vehicle for that matter, when you're making a turn in a tractor trailer unit and you're going around and you're not sure, or you lose sight of a fixed object or another road user, that you need to come to a stop, you need to get out of that vehicle and you need to look. So it's the onus of responsibility is on the driver to turn that vehicle safely. And it's what we say about driving big trucks. It's pretty easy to point them down a freeway and drive them up and down an interstate or a freeway or a highway, but getting them around an urban area in many places where they're just roads are simply not designed for tractor trailer units, it can be very challenging. It can be very challenging indeed. Katie, the CDL is never in the driving manual I received from the state police. How do I find information about the commercial driver's license? Okay, Katie, I understand what you're saying now. Thanks for rephrasing that. So the CDL manual is a separate manual. It's another manual completely separate from the driving manual. Okay, so you're going to have to go I forget where you said you were, Katie. I apologize. But you're going to have to go to your state and you're going to have to request the CDL manual. Now, most of the manuals for the United States are online. So you can just type in CDL manual Washington State or CDL manual Kansas, whichever state you're in there in the U.S., and it will probably be online. Now, the other thing about most of the CDL manuals that I found in the U.S. is most of them are the same. Okay, even though it's the state of New York or even though it's the state of California, they're almost identical. So that's the other piece that you need to know about the CDL manuals there in the U.S. Okay. Nolly, always try to follow the speed limit, occasionally plus or minus 5. The challenge is with other drivers driving above the speed limit. They tailgating, overtake, glance at you like, yeah, saying speed up. Nolly, so I'm assuming that you do have your license. Just let me know if you do have your license, Nolly, and then I'll know how to answer that question. Excuse me. Man, what is the best way to identify if you have a right of way in a two-way stop intersection? Is it to look out for a stop line on the road? Okay, two-way stop signs. Man, you're going to find that it's different for two-way stop signs. So two-way stop signs are different than four-way stop signs. So at a two-way stop sign, the major road has the right of way over the minor road. Straight through traffic has the right of way over turning traffic, and then right turning vehicle has the right of way over left turning vehicles. Those are general rules for two-way stop signs. So you can go and practice that and look up those rules as well. But again, there's a video here, and Corey will get that up for you on right of way at different intersections. And I kind of go out to different intersections and I kind of go over the general rules of right of way at turning at and moving through those intersections. All right. A man in my road test, one of the comments made was that I was slowing down at intersections where I had the right of way. Okay, so I think what the examiner is saying to you, a man, is that you're on a major road and there's an intersection and you're slowing down. Instead of just scanning the intersection as you're approaching it and make sure there aren't other road users that you're going to conflict with, what you're doing is you're actually slowing down. And you shouldn't be slowing down when you're on a major road, when you're intersecting with a minor road. You should just keep going and maintaining your speed limit. All right? Fireman, are you allowed to drive a tractor trailer in Manhattan, New York? Fireman, I'm pretty sure that you still can drive a tractor trailer unit in Manhattan. I know I drove a tractor trailer unit in Manhattan, down Broadway and other places there. So, yes, you can. And that's how they get a lot of their freight goods and services into the city is driving down there. Now, to get onto the island of Manhattan, you cannot go through the tunnels because the tunnels are only 12 feet 6 inches, and unless you're driving a flat deck, you can't come through the tunnels. If you're driving a van that's 13.6, you got to go across the George Washington Bridge, or you got to go across to Staten Island and come up through Brooklyn. So know that. And the Manhattan Bridge, coming from Queens into Manhattan, you can come across that. You can't drive on the Brooklyn Bridge with a tractor trailer unit. So yes, you can drive on the island of Manhattan. Katie, thank you for explaining about CDL. You're most welcome. If you have any questions about CDL, Katie, we can certainly help you with that as well. All right, Sam, thank you, Rick. Can you please make a video on how to parallel park behind a block? That's what they do in my driving exam center. So, Sam, where are you taking your... Oh, you're in Ottawa. Yes, I remember the block because I had to do my driving test in Ottawa because that's where I did my driving instruction license. And in Ontario, when you do your driving instructor course, you have to go and retake the G license there. You have to go and do the road test for the G license again. And I remember that block because it's far. So in other words, when you come in, you have to go farther down the hood in order to get in behind that block. They probably still have the same block, Sam, that they had when I was there. When did I get my driving instruction license? That would have been 1998. So it's probably still the same block in Ottawa that I did when I was there as well. All right, Sandy, Dr. Rick, when I depress my service brake, the brake pedal with my brakes released, or I get a definite exhaust from the dash valve exhaust port. I've replaced the dash valve. The other thing, Sandy, that might be happening is your quick release valve is faulty on the bottom of the foot pedal, and it's blowing air out through there. Or you've got one of your lines maybe have a hole in it or something like that. I suspect it's probably one of those two things with your air brakes there, Sandy. Okay, Travel and Gaming. Hello, Colin. How are you, my friend? Yes, exactly, Sam. Sam knows exactly what I'm talking about the test center there in Ottawa. Nur, my test is going to be in July. Should I have to follow the speed limit on school zones? No, unless there's summer school in session, you don't have to follow the speed limit. And that's another frequently asked question I get about speed zones for schools in the summertime. No, holidays, weekends, and summer holidays, you don't have to follow the speed limit for speed zones. So that's another thing you need to know. Ottawa, Walkley Road. Yes, that's exactly where it was, Sam. I remember that because it was I took it in a 5-speed manual. It was a Nissan Pathfinder. I took my road test in when I was there, and I actually thought I did fairly well. I did pass. I don't remember what my score was. So, welcome back, Travel and Gaming. Corey there, Jonathan, follow the speed limit in a school zone. Not if it's July, Jonathan, unless there's summer school in session. You don't have to follow the school zone session, okay? All right, so, okay, any other, so, haven't taken my test, it's a B, okay? Thank you very much. You're most welcome. Daniel, welcome. Maravik. And again, for those of you just tuning in, those of you who watching on the replay, just had a brain cramp there for just a moment. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Leave us a question and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you like the channel. Smart Drive Test helps new drivers get a license, veteran drivers to remain crash-free, and CDL drivers to start a career as a truck or bus driver. So all of that will help you to subscribe as well. Share around on social media, and that will get out the word and help people who are going for their road test and being successful in doing all of that. Pennsylvania, hello Daniel from Pennsylvania. Hall phase, do you still plan to do crash analysis videos? Yes, I'm going to do more of those, Hall phase for sure. If you have anything available, any video or crashes you want me to look at, by all means send them my way and I'll do that. Luther, hello sir, I have a big question. Yes, please send me your question. We've been doing quite well, Colin, on the channel. We got the silver play button, as you can see up here in the back, and the channel's doing well. It's recovered, and we're going into summertime, which again I said is the busiest time of the year here, with lots of people being out of school and doing the road tests and those types of things. So that's what we're doing. Okay. Sandy, I lost the signal. Could you explain? Answer again. Okay, so Sandy, in terms of a leak on the back of the dash panel, you either got a leak in one of the lines that's connecting to the two valves on your dash, or it's the quick release valve on the bottom of your foot pedal, because it's exhausting out on the other side of the firewall, and sometimes it's confusing between the brake pedal and the valves on the dash, so it could be any one of those things. And you know, it could be some of the other quick release valves, because as you may or may not know, there's several quick release valves in the system, and you might have to take it to a mechanic and get a mechanic to look at it. I'm not sure. Sorry. A automotive technician. That's the word I was looking for, because they're not called mechanics anymore. They're called automotive technicians. All right. Sam, do you know the law regarding G1 driver driving alone in Ontario if they get pulled over? Okay, so G1, is G1 the novice phase, Sam, in Ontario, or is it the learner phase? I always, those confuse me. Luther, how these guys with big rigs like Pete's or Kenworth judge the blind spots without blind mirrors on their hoods? Yeah, that's always a bit interesting, Luther, when they don't have those bus mirrors on the front of the hood, and they're going around corners and those types of things. It does make it a bit more interesting for sure. Frederick, from Denmark, awesome. Odense. Excuse me. Tracy, is a learner's permit legal in different provinces? Yes, it is legal in different provinces, and you can drive in different provinces, Tracy, with your learner's license, so long as you have your mentor with you who has a license and those types of things. Yes, you can drive in different provinces legally. Does insurance cover maintenance of the vehicle, like a cracked windshield or broken windshield wipers? Insurance doesn't cover windshield wipers, Hall phase, but it does if you have comprehensive on your vehicle. Then under comprehensive, it will fix to replace your windshield. Now, one of the things I'm going to say to you, and there is a couple of videos here on the channel about cracked windshields and stone chips and those types of things. If you get a stone chip on your windshield, take it into the glass shop and get it fixed as quickly as possible, because if it gets worse and it ends up in a crack, then you're going to have to replace the windshield. And I can tell you from personal experience, if it's just a stone chip, it's only going to cost you about $60 or $70. But if you have to replace the entire windshield, as I had to recently in the buggy, then it's going to cost you $450, $500 to replace the windshield, depending, of course, on what vehicle you have. Is going to depend on how much it's going to cost you. So just going back to insurance and what Hall Phase was asking about insurance, I don't have comprehensive insurance on my vehicle. Comprehensive insurance, if you buy a new vehicle and you have a loan, like a car loan for your vehicle, then you're going to have to get comprehensive. So the way that car insurance works, just an aside here, you've got public liability and public and property damage. So PL and PD, as they call it. Those are basic insurances you're going to have, and most of the insurance companies now are going to recommend that you have $2 or $3 million of public liability and public damage. And then you have fire and theft, and then above that you have comprehensive insurance. And comprehensive insurance, if you get into a crash and your vehicle is damaged, or you hit a fixed object or something like that, you can take it in and get it fixed with comprehensive insurance. But know that when you buy comprehensive insurance for your vehicle, it's going to cost you approximately twice what you're paying already. So for example, if you're paying $1,000 a year for insurance on public liability, public damage, and fire and theft insurance, if you get comprehensive, your insurance is going to be another $1,000 a year. So you're going to have to ask yourself, is it worth it for the extra insurance to get my vehicle repaired on windshields and those types of things? And if you have a vehicle that's 5 years or more older, it's probably not worth it, okay, for that type of insurance. So those are the different types of insurance that you can get, automotive insurance you can get for your vehicle. All right. Syed, if I take a Class 5 license from Saskatchewan, will it work as a G2 in Toronto? Now, Syed, are you talking about transferring your license? So, for example, you're moving from Saskatchewan and you're going to move to the province of Ontario and you're going to transfer your license. That would be a question for the MTO in Ontario. You would need to go in and talk to them if that's actually what you're going to do. Now, if the question is can I drive with my Class 5 license in the province of Ontario, yes, you can. But if you're going to move there, that's a different question, okay? Ryan, okay, thank you, Rick. Have a lesson this week, so I'll ask my instructor to give me some pointers to be successful. It's the last thing I need to nail down. Awesome, and that's really great, Ryan. Let us know how that goes with the instructor, and if you have any more questions, we'll definitely try and help you out. Okay, Porky, are drivers allowed to speed in order to merge, such as traffic? You were merging into our speeding, so you speed to merge. Now, Porky, for the purposes of a road test, no, you cannot speed for the purposes of merging into traffic on a highway or freeway. After you get your license, then yeah, you can do that. But for the purposes of passing a road test, don't do that, okay, because you won't be successful. All phase windshields are that expensive. Yes. I'll tell you a funny story, Hall phase. One of the body shops here in town, I took the buggy down there to get a quote on how much it was going to cost to replace the windshield, and it was $850 to replace the windshield. And where I took it, one of the glass shops here in town that I go to, was only $450. So make sure that, if for all of the smart drivers out there who are watching now on the live stream or watching later on the replay, know that if you need to replace the windshield or you need to replace any glass on your vehicle, shop around and get 2 or 3 prices, because the prices can vary a lot between different places that are going to do the work on your vehicle. So know that, because I was somewhat shocked when I went into the body shop and they said, oh yeah, it's going to be $850 to replace the windshield. I was like, that's kind of crazy. So in the end, it was only about $450 to get the windshield replaced. Okay, windshields are expensive. Yes. Katie, how do I become familiar with the clutch on a vehicle? Okay, Katie, when you're asking me about clutch control on a vehicle, are you talking about a CDL vehicle, or are you talking about a passenger vehicle that is fitted with a manual transmission? It's essentially the same exercise that you're going to be doing. And Corey will put the video up for you on manual transmissions. And manual transmissions, you simply do the clutch control. Corey's got the video up there for you already. Excellent. And you just do those exercises, and that will teach you clutch control. And don't skip those steps, Katie, because you need to do that. You need to have clutch control, because again, that is the fundamental ability to be able to drive a manual transmission well. If you have clutch control, the rest is fairly easy. And if you can master first gear and reverse on a manual transmission, after that, the rest is fairly straightforward and fairly easy. Okay? Aman, do school zone signs indicate if school is holding summer session? What does the sign look like? There aren't any signs, Aman, telling you if summer school is in session. Now, if you're concerned about it, what I would suggest you do is to figure out where the school zones are in and around the test center where you're going to be taking your road test, and simply go down and go in and see if the school is open. If it is, then you want to obey the school zone sign when you're doing your road test, okay? And the other thing that you can do is just go to a local driving school and take a practice test and ask the driving instructor, and they'll be able to help you out with that particular question. Sam, did I skip your question? Okay, it's the learner's driver. You can drive, but with 4-year full. Yes, you can. Okay. Was there another one that I missed there, Sam? All right. Porky, if I hit the curb but don't go over the curb and still fix my park job, is it a fail? Porky, it depends how hard you hit the curb. If you knock the driving exam out of the curb on your parallel parking, yes, it's going to be a fail. If you just touch the curb, that's not a fail. But if you bang the curb, yes, you're not going to fail. Essentially, the test is does the body rock over the chassis of the vehicle? If the body rocks or moves over the chassis of the vehicle, you're not going to be successful on your road test. All right. Okay. So that's good information that Corey put up there. That in Winnipeg, because I had never seen these signs, that if summer school is in session, then the speed zones are enforced, and that's good information. Okay. So, Katie, regular vehicle, yes, definitely have a look at the manual car video here on clutch control, Katie, and that'll get you going for a manual transmission. Really, lots of talking today. All right, Ryan, we got that, and I think, all right, so just to reiterate, in terms of frequently asked questions, we have those, we've given you the answers to most of those frequently asked questions. And again, when you're looking at the videos, just comb through the comments down below, and oftentimes the comments, it's the same question over and over again, and I've provided an answer to most of the questions here on the channel. Most of the videos I try to get to as many of the comments as I can and provide answers to them. So have a look through there, and oftentimes you'll be able to find the answer to your question and those types of things. And also sometimes different smart drivers will have a different perspective on the maneuver and what they need to learn and those types of things, or had something happen that was unusual that doesn't usually happen. So there's a lot of good information in the comments as well, and the channel's old enough now that there's a good catalog of questions and comments below the video that will help you out in terms of preparing for your road test. Tracy, to follow up, how do you merge when the traffic is speeding on the road test? So essentially what you need to do, Tracy, most of the time they're not going to, the driving examiners are not going to take you on a freeway excuse me, if the traffic is congested. Most of the time when they get you to merge out onto a highway or an interstate, the traffic's not very heavy. So what's going to happen there, as you're coming out, you've got your signal on, so you're giving lots of warning, you're communicating early that you're going to move out onto the freeway. So you're just going to go up to the speed limit. So say, for example, it's 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. You're going to go up to 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, and you're going to get out onto the acceleration lane, and you're going to have your signal on. And if those vehicles are driving faster than you, most of the time they're either going to go past you or they're going to move out to the left-hand lane and create a space that's going to allow you to move over. And that's what you have to do for the purposes of the road test. And again, if you're concerned about it, make sure that you practice that numerous times before you go for your road test, or hire a local driving instructor from a local driving school and get them to help you with that and go out and do that, because you do have to do the speed limit for the purposes of your road test. You don't want to speed on your road test for any length of time. If you do, you want to try and get it back to the speed limit as quickly as possible, because speed management is one of the fundamental, it's one of the cornerstones of you passing a road test. Speed management, space management, observation, and communication. You need to know those four things, and you need to have those four things in place to be successful on a road test, regardless of where you are in the world, regardless of what class of license you have. You have to have those four components in place. All right. Okay, so Sam, the penalties regarding G1 driving alone in Ontario when you pull over, that was my question. Oh, the penalties. Okay, so that's an excellent question, Sam. For GLP programs, graduated licensing programs, or GDL as they're sometimes referred to, graduated driver's licensing, when you're in the G1 phase, you don't yet have a full license, know that the penalties are a lot stiffer than once you get a full license. There's a lot less tolerance. And in British Columbia here, for example, you're allowed 15 points on a full license before you lose your license. When you're in the learner's phase of license, you're only allowed 6 points before they take your license away and you have to start over again. And I know for some people they stay in the novice phase for a long time, 2, 5, 10 years in some extreme cases, and they don't go and get a full license. I would suggest to you that you go and get your full license as quickly as possible. It's going to reduce your insurance. It's going to, you're going to get to discounts on your insurance a lot faster, and it's going to save you money in the long run. So go and get your full license as quickly as possible, instead of staying in the novice phase. I know it's another test that you're going to have to take, but the other issue is that the farther you get away from that novice phase, the farther you get away from taking that road test to move into the novice phase of your license, the more work you're going to have to do to prepare for a road test again. The more work you're going to have to do to have all the skills and techniques in place for speed management, space management, observation, and communication, because taking a road test, as I tell students, is a very different exercise than just being able to drive well. And you're going to have all of that in place in order to be able to pass a road test. So the sooner you can do that and get into your full license, you're not going to have to revisit that road test again for a long time. So do that. And also, as I said, it's going to save you money in the long run, because your insurance is going to go down and you're going to start being eligible for discounts after 3, 4, 5 years. Okay? Hall phase, how much money does it cost to get your license, including class time, paper test, road test, instructor driving time, all that stuff? It really depends, Hall phase, and it's going to depend on whether you take driving lessons or not, whether you hire a local driving school, but it can be, you know, it can be $100 just to get your license, just for the costs at the test center, and those are going to vary a little bit depending on where you are in North America or in the world in terms of costs. I know that just to renew my license this year on my birthday, they always put it on your birthday, which is lovely. It was $100 just to renew my license, and so it can vary. It depends on how many driving lessons you take. So it can kind of vary between a couple $100 all the way up to $1,000. And know that, you know, passing a road test, it can be expensive. So there are costs associated. Okay, Epic. To pass a road test, would it be possible to use a driving school road test service, same time mock test before do it? Not understanding the question there. To use a driving school road test service, same time mock test before it. So are you asking if you're going to get your mock road test at the same time that you take your driving test? I think that's what you're asking, Epic. And if you are taking a mock road test, yes, you want to try and do it at the same time as you're doing your road test, and that's an excellent point. That if your test is at 10 o'clock in the morning, you want to try and take your mock road test at 10 o'clock in the morning. You want to practice in and around the test center at 10 o'clock in the morning. That way you're going to simulate traffic conditions as much as possible for the purposes of your road test, and that way you're going to be ready to go. Okay? Katie, is it normal to pay a fee when you take the written exam? Yes, it is normal to pay a fee for taking the written exam. I think here in British Columbia it's $15 to take your learner's license. And the other thing that I was unfortunate, that's kind of a bummer, is that now here in the province of British Columbia they implemented mandatory wait times. So if you're not successful on your learner's license, you got to wait a minimum of 7 days before you take your road test again. And if you're taking an on-road test, it's anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months before you can test again. So know that. And this is going to make it more important that you take a practice road test before you go down and take your road test, so that way you're going to be successful on your road test unless something goes crazy. Okay? Sam, thank you, Rick. You're just awesome. Thank you, Sam, for tuning in. Thank you for your participation in the live stream. It's always interesting and awesome to answer your questions, and it makes it much better for all the smart drivers who are watching on the live stream or who are watching on the replay. And again, if you're watching on the replay, hit that thumbs up, consider subscribing, and as well leave us a question. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the world and what class of license you're going for. Yes, Hall phase, unfortunately driving is expensive. It is fairly expensive. They say that the average car costs about $3,500 to $4,000 a year just to operate in terms of maintenance, insurance, fuel, those types of things. So it's not cheap. Okay, I wish the government and the insurance companies did not make it so expensive. Yeah, unfortunately it is, Hall phase, and that's just a fact of life, unfortunately. All right, so I think we're going to wrap it up there for today. Katie, thank you for explaining the learner fee. You're most welcome, Katie, and anything else we can do, leave us a comment down in the comment section there, and we'll be sure to help you out. And be sure, if you're going for your road test, that you head over to the Smart Drive Test website. Corey will put the link up for you. It's also down in the description there. And pick up your Pass Your Road Test checklist, and that's the list of things that you should be doing on test day, a list of things that you need to bring. Make sure that you bring money, you bring identification, have a shower, put clean clothes on, iron your shirt, wash your car, do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you go down for your road test. I cannot stress that enough. Don't be denied your road test because you have a brake light out or some other minor issue that could easily be fixed before going down for your road test. Do a pre-trip inspection. I can't emphasize that enough. All right, so thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for those of you watching on the replay. Get your road test checklist, and if you have any questions at all, leave a comment down in the comment section there. Share around on social media. That helps all of the smart drivers to pass the road test. Porky, I'm taking my test at 4 p.m. in Calgary. Should I reschedule because of rush hour? No, you shouldn't reschedule, Porky, but do go out and practice at 4 p.m. in and around the test center where you're going to be taking your road test. Excellent. And Corey's put up the what the signs say there in Winnipeg for schools that are in session in the summer. Yes, Hall Face, there's definitely going to be new videos up this week, and definitely have a look at the stories. I'm going to be working on those shorter videos that will point people to the longer videos and help them to just generate awareness so we can get more information out and have more successful smart drivers passing the road test and being safe on the roadways and earning their CDL license. Thanks very much for watching. If you passed a road test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations, and if you got one coming up here, good luck on that. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.